Hi, I'm Toya Brasky from Galveston, Texas. I wanted to let you know that today is the first day on Tuesday the 18th that I've ever had a pelvis transvaginal exam. So, I'm very honest in my way of telling you my stories. In fact, sometimes I'm too honest. So if you don't like honesty, you should probably go ahead and scroll by this story. So the reason why I share my stories with you is because I think it's important to let people know what you're going through. I think it's important for someone who has never had this procedure. I think it's important for that person who has never experienced it, but also if you're a male watching this story, it will help you to understand what your female partner may have to go through if they have the same test. So, I'm going to explain it like this. Okay. Well, I did not know what to expect. And so they had told me that before the pelvis exam that I needed to drink 48 ounces of water before the pelvis ultrasound. So I was a little bit scared of doing that because it's very hard for me to hold my bladder. I mean, I just always have a hard time. If I drink a soda or even a little bottle of water, I'm going to have to pee like 4 times, so I always have an urgency with, not being able to hold my bladder. So I kind of cheated a little bit, and instead of drinking 48 ounces of water, I drank 32 ounces of water 15 minutes before my procedure. So anyway, luckily it went right through me. It went to my bladder. I really did not know what to expect. But I want to tell you, before the procedure, for reasons of wanting to be modest, I actually requested female technicians. Modesty is very important to me. So luckily I did get female technicians, and I had a technician there. Her name was Christy. She was so wonderful and experienced. And then there was also a student there. So because the student has never done a transvaginal exam, they asked me, was it okay for the student to participate and to be able to do part of the procedure? I said yes, that I did not mind. Now, so they start the pelvic exam, and that was really easy. That's just basically scanning the lower part of your abdomen down to your, groin area with ultrasound jelly and the tool that they use. So that went really fast, and as soon as they finished, they said you can go to the bathroom, empty your bladder all the way, and then we'll move on to the transvaginal exam. So, I want to tell you that in 17 years since 2008, I have not dated, I have not been sexually active, I have not even went for a gynecological exam. So there has been nothing that has penetrated my vagina in 17 years, not even a sex toy, nothing. So, one thing that you need to know is, if you have not been sexually active in several years, you can have vaginal atrophy, which means that your vagina actually shrinks. Okay. Also, if you're menopausal, which I am, you can also have atrophy. So basically, your vagina is a tube, and that tube shortens and tightens because it basically atrophies, meaning it shrinks up. Okay, so before the procedure, they told me, they set up the I guess table that you got to get on and put up the stirrups, and they told me, take off my clothes and put on the gown, and I have to be naked from at least the waist down, and then scoot to the end of the table. And they told me that they would be using a lot of ultrasound jelly. And so I was looking at the diameter of the probe, and I asked, what is the actual diameter, because I want to know what they're inserting into my body. So the diameter of the probe is only about 7/8 of an inch. So it's less than an inch in diameter or girth. But I was still concerned because I haven't had anything in my vagina for 17 years. So the length of the vagina in a woman is really only about 3 to 4 inches vertically. So they don't insert the entire probe all the way deep. The probe looks longer than what they're going to use. So one of the things that really impressed me about this exam is Christy was very attentive to my modesty expectations. So even though I was on the table spread eagle with my legs up in stirrups, what they did was they put a sheet over my knees, and then they pulled the sheet all the way down to my ankles. So at no time during this procedure, absolutely no time at all, was I exposed in a way that if someone walked through the front door of the ultrasound exam room, or even to the technicians, my private parts were not out on display. So that was so important to me. Hold on, I'm just gonna try to sit Indian style here. Sorry. So at no time at all was I exposed in a way that would make me feel uncomfortable, and that was so important to me. So even when they were probing, when they started to put the probe in, they placed it at the tip of my vagina, and then they explained that they were about to penetrate me with the tool. And even at that time, the sheet was pulled all the way down, so their arm was underneath the sheet, but my private parts were not exposed to the technicians. They were looking at the screen. So when they started to put the probe inside my vagina, I actually felt immense pain. Even the girth of less than 1 inch wide felt very uncomfortable because my vagina has atrophied and shrunk so much that the girth of even less than 1 inch was very painful. So when they first inserted that tube into me, I kind of winced, like, it was just kind of, I could feel it really sort of opening me up after being closed down for so long. And then when they're inside of you with that probe, they are kind of moving the probe around and to the side, and just kind of navigating around with that probe. So what they're doing is they're looking at your uterus, they're looking at your fallopian tubes, they're looking at your bladder, they're looking at every organ that is in your pelvic area, but from the inside. So they probably took a good 40 minutes to do that transvaginal probe. So it was a little bit strange to lay there, and a little bit uncomfortable when they were trying to turn the tool. It wasn't terrible, but it was uncomfortable because they're constantly turning around the tube like this. You know, kind of fishing in there, looking at different angles. So that was a little bit uncomfortable. But the entire time, I want to say that I felt very glad to not be exposed in a way that would be embarrassing. I mean, even with females standing there that are strangers, that are technicians, you still do not want to be fully exposed. So I would say to any technician who is watching this story, it is so important, if you have a female patient, whether you are scanning her breast or her private parts, at any time during the procedure, if you're going to stop the procedure, please have the courtesy to just pull the sheet up a little bit to cover their breast. Pull the sheet down so that if someone walks in the room or you're just standing there, that the person is not spread eagle with their genitals being exposed. So I got really lucky. Christy is a great ultrasound technician. She was so in tune and so respectful of my modesty. I just really love that. I mean, the entire time that she was probing my vagina, she had the sheet all the way over my knees, down to my ankles, with her arm underneath the sheet. So she wasn't even looking at my vajayjay. The other tech in the room, the student, wasn't even looking at it. They were looking at the screen and just working underneath the sheet. And so that made me feel so comfortable. At no time did I feel embarrassment. When they were finished with the procedure, she explained everything. She said, I'm going to stop the procedure, and then we are going to remove the tube, the wand, from your vagina. And she explained there's a lot of ultrasound jelly, so we're going to give you these washcloths to clean yourself up. And so when I went to the bathroom to use the washcloths, I noticed that the ultrasound gel was pink. And that's because just probing my vagina after 17 years and stretching it to the 7/8 of an inch made me bleed. And it was just a small, slight bleeding. But just the fact that nothing has been in there in 17 years, it was a little bit traumatic to my vagina. Now, atrophy can happen to anyone who has not been sexually active for several years. And in my case, I have not been sexually active for 17 years. I have not been to the gynecologist. I have not used sex toys. Nothing has been in my vagina. And then for women who are menopausal, hormonally atrophy happens. And so what atrophy actually means is the vagina is a tube, basically a tube, and when it atrophies, it shrinks in length vertically. It'll shrink and be shorter. And then also the diameter of the vagina, being a tube, shrinks and gets tighter. And so that could make intercourse even painful. So I'm learning about, if I was to get in another relationship and have a sexual partner, There are hormonal creams that can help with that, that would make it less painful if I was penetrated, because I'm pretty sure that most penises are wider than 7/8 of an inch. So if I bled with just the ultrasound tool, then I would probably bleed during intercourse, at least until I got used to being with a partner again. Now, I haven't met anyone, and I haven't I haven't been in a relationship, and as far as I know, that's not on my agenda for now. But I did want to share this story with you, even though it is very graphically toned. I wanted to share it with you because I think that sharing stories and experiences actually help us. It helps a woman who has never been through this procedure to know what to expect. Also, you can request, if you're feeling like you don't want a male to be doing your procedure. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with male techs. I mean, I know you've seen thousands of vaginas, but for some people who are modest, there are some women that would prefer a woman to do it. And I think that that should be respected and honored by all hospitals or physicians' offices. That there should be a questionnaire that says, if we have to do a procedure on you, which involves exposing any of your private areas like your breast, your genitals, would you prefer a male or female, or does it matter? So if you answer, I would like a female technician, a female doctor, then that should certainly be honored. I like telling the stories because I think that men sometimes are clueless about what their girlfriends are going through. And I think that when it involves any type of female exam, men don't really know what we go through. And so through my stories, I hope that it helps you to understand if your sister is going through a procedure, if your girlfriend is going through a procedure, your wife, your mother, then you know these are the kind of things that she's experiencing. So I hope that my story has not been too embarrassing for you, and that it helps somebody who watches it at a later time.